Thank you for joining us for the ITC Summit. My name is Mladen Lukic. I'm the General Manager for Travel Council of South Africa, and I have guests in the studio today, and I'm so happy to have Otto De Vries, CEO of ASATA, and Natalia Rosa from Big Ambitions. What we are trying to achieve over the two segments of the ITC Summit is to bring some information that has been heard at the recent ASATA conference into the domain of people who already work from home, or perhaps work in an agency but are considering a career as a travel agent, or what we refer to as an independent travel consultant. So thank you for joining us. Otto, perhaps we start with you, just to maybe define this thing that we called an ITC. Do we know how many ITCs are there in South Africa today?
Good way to start, and I suspect that I couldn't give you a clear answer on that at this point, because it's quite difficult to measure that. And the measure is a challenge, not only because of the way that the industry is fragmented, but also the different interpretations of ITC and the way that they engage either through organizations such as travel counselors or through any other of our membership base. And then of course we've got the argument around all of those that might be operating outside of ASATA membership in terms of operating from home, or businesses that are truly independent of any other travel organization. So the numbers that are bandied about can vary anywhere from several hundred to several thousand. It is quite disturbing, because when we're trying to put a measure around professionalism in the industry and the role that the ITCs play in that regard because of their relationship with customers, it certainly doesn't make that process any easier.
We, of course, are talking to professional travel agents, people who have had a career as a travel agent, and certainly from my point of view, and I don't know whether the two of you share that view, is to become an ITC, to have the confidence and expertise to run a business with a purpose that would add value to the customer. You have to be at the top of your game. So I would say that the criteria for somebody to be an ITC is significantly higher for anything else in the industry. Would you agree with that?
Yes, certainly, and then that's born in a lot of research that we've actually done recently with regards to what our customers want. We've had a look at what our leisure customers want, we've had a look at our corporate customers and our corporate procurement managers, and they specifically have said that they are looking for a consultant that is not just transactional. That's a fait accompli. You have to get that right. It's a consultant that can provide not only a painless but also a pleasant experience, and that knows that customers so intimately that they're able to identify all the friction points along that travel journey, from the inspiration phase right to the post-travel phase, and mitigate any pain, but also introduce pleasurable travel in that. And that can only come with a consultant that has the experience, the life experience, but also the knowledge, the destination knowledge, the travel experience, to be able to have a conversation at the right level with that customer.
And I think that, just to sort of expand on that thinking a little bit, the one thing that became quite clear and that was absolutely central is the customer. You have to put the customer at the heart of your business. So this is about having all of the points that Natalia has raised, but understanding that what you do and who you do it for is primarily your customer.
It's been an interesting 12 months, and at this conference you have presented a new mid-term model for a renewed business, the way ASATA is conducting itself. Can you give us a little more about that?
Yeah, certainly. So I think, first of all, ASATA exists because of its members. We are the representative forum of the professional travel industry. We have been that forum for the past 60 years. And we've got to understand that this is in the context of an unregulated industry. So it is about ensuring that under the membership banner there is a commitment towards offering professionalism, being compliant, being clear on what direction we're taking as an industry, and doing all of the right things under this ASATA banner. So as a representative forum, we have to constantly be vigilant around how the industry is changing, how the needs of our members are changing, what the expectations of the customers are, and how do we continue to evolve to add that support and value to our members and to the industry at large. So we have to have a very strong high-level helicopter view of what's happening in the industry. We've acknowledged some time back that the existing business model is broken. And what role could we play in adding some sort of support or understanding of what the future may well look like? So this spoke about the need for us to, one, move away from this idea that revenue streams are driven primarily by commissions towards revenue streams being driven by service fees or charges to the customer, by adding real value to the customer and being there for the customer. This was supported through the 21st Century Travel Agent study, which highlighted a number of these issues, and we were able to put forward a number of key recommendations that were key not only to the corporate travel industry, but also to the leisure industry. And as part of understanding what the outcomes that this study produced was also to say, well, what role does ASATA play? And a number of key things came out. And the understanding that customer is central was one of them, but the other, which underpins all of this, is how are we conducting ourselves as an industry, as a professional industry, when we have shifted fundamentally from being agents of the suppliers to agents of the customers. And a lot of emphasis has been around not only the customer expectation, but legislation, policies, and direction that is going to support and clearly provide for the consumer making choices when booking travel, that they are engaging professional travel consultants that are compliant with legislation, compliant with consumer legislation, and that they are dealing with a true professional. And that is underpinned by our code of conduct, our constitution, and the way that we present our members to the consumers.
And one of those pillars that you were talking about, that charter being one of those, is a desire for ASATA to consider self-regulation for obvious reasons, because quite clearly if we don't regulate ourselves at some point in time, we are going to get into a situation that perhaps government or some other body would want to regulate us. Tell us a little more about the roadmap, what and how that would mean for every travel agent out there in South Africa.
And you're absolutely correct. If we don't take that initiative, somebody else will. And we want to have some level of input and, if you will, control around what that regulation may look like. And regulation is not the scary thing that everybody thinks it is. It can be if we allow somebody else to take that on. But if we have some ability to control what that looks like, it becomes a very different conversation. So it's not necessarily all doom and gloom, but it would be if we're not taking that initiative. So as part of the process, having done that initial research, we have a mandate from the industry and from our members to further investigate what that might look like and whether it would be something that we could look to adopt as an industry. And it's a very positive step in the right direction, because what starts to happen is you get a level of compliance and consistency in terms of the professionalism that we can present to the consumer.
Not to labor too much on this, but is it fair to say that what you're looking to achieve is to create an environment where ASATA is effectively a watchdog, and a watchdog that has ability to sanction behavior that is outside of what we as an industry have agreed to? I mean, charter has been signed, just to be quite clear. So if anybody, whether they are from within ASATA membership or outside ASATA membership, behaves in a way that is contrary to this set of common behavior that we have signed to, that watchdog, that new ASATA with teeth, would be able to sanction them. Is that true?
That is the intention. And I think that there's no doubt in our mind that this is quite critical, because in order to ensure that the confidence and the trust is there in an association that stands for ethical behavior, professionalism, and conducts itself as an industry in a professional manner in the eye of the consumer, part of that is a real understanding that there's recourse.
Natalia, you run a company that specializes in aspects of marketing and brand management within the travel industry, and you have worked very closely with ASATA in that capacity. One element of the tools in the toolbox of this new ASATA will be PR campaigns, and you have already presented a consumer PR campaign that would initially position ASATA, but hopefully in the future days would also be able to expose perhaps behavior that ASATA wants to sanction. Can you tell us a little more about the planned campaign?
Sure. Well, I like the word behavior, and it kind of underpins everything that Otto's spoken about, because you know for yourself that when you buy into a brand, so not necessarily a logo, when you buy into the values of a brand, you're buying into a certain behavior. So your expectation is that this brand is going to behave in a certain way. My expectation is that Vodacom is going to provide a service that they have promised me. And if I then market the fact that I'm going to be promising this particular service, and I as a consumer then go and engage with that brand, and I don't get that, not only is it damaged in my own mind, but I will tell other people and it will be damaged in their mind. So this idea of getting all levels of ASATA membership, not just the MDs of a company, but all levels down to the coalface, the travel consultants who are dealing with customers. We have to communicate what these behaviors are, and those behaviors have to be lived consistently, which is why before we actually go out with a massive PR campaign and marketing campaign for ASATA, we have to get this idea of living ASATA right first. We have to get all levels of ASATA membership to understand what the behaviors are that we would like to promise to customers, and then what are those gaps? Where is it that we're not living ASATA? How do we bridge those gaps? And then we can confidently go out to a consumer with a consistent message that says, if you book with an ASATA member, you can travel with peace of mind. If we promise that, and then we are not delivering on those values, we stand a very good chance of damaging a brand and not being able to come back from that.
When we talk about this behavior, a lot of it is informed by a study that ASATA has presented and that you have worked on and presented at the conference, which is titled 21st Century Travel Agent. And when we talk about travel agents, it is quite a broad term. So let me ask you this: when you compile the study and when you have looked at the research material, did you include people who work from home, ITCs? Have you considered their role in the industry inclusive for this study?
We've actually approached it from the perspective, as all marketers will tell you, from the customer's perspective. So we haven't gone to a large TMC and said, what is it that your customers want? Or we haven't gone to a home-based agent and said, what is it that your customers want? We've actually gone to the customer. So we've identified who the customer is of any travel agent, whether they're a corporate customer or whether they're a leisure customer, whether they're a corporate procurement manager. And we have said, based on where the current trends are and based on what your expectation is of a 21st travel agent, what is it that you're looking for? And actually, ironically, what we got back were so many things that an ITC actually encapsulates. Because we got back this message of, I want to be seen as a person, not as a company. So I want you to treat me as an individual. I want you to have a relationship with me. And in fact, if you build a relationship with me, I don't actually even need to speak to my corporate procurement manager or my travel manager, because the relationship is between us and I will be your biggest advocate. So kind of a bit of the opposite way of looking at it. We didn't look at what an ITC wanted or what a TMC wanted. We went straight to the heart of the argument. What does your customer want?
Well, let's go into some of those, because you have presented 9 recommendations. We don't have time to go through all 9 of them, but let's just pick a few. And if I may, with you, start with you, Otto. I actually counted, and out of 9, trust is mentioned in 4 of them. So clearly a very big and important part of this engagement is trust. So in very simple terms, what you are saying is that you can't serve two masters. You are either going to be entirely customer focused or not. And if you agree with that, then how will that affect the existing revenue models where overrides, commissions, and target incentives are positioned in such a way that they are the complete opposite of this desire?
Well, this is the heart of the matter. I mean, here we are. This is the elephant in the room. Partner relationships will and has to remain critical. It is one of our 5 pillars. But what we've also said is that partner relationship doesn't necessarily only have to be driven commercially. Is there an opportunity for revenue? Of course there is. Should we be remunerated by suppliers and partners in the supply chain? I don't see why not. But, and this is the important bit, we are fundamentally changing who we are serving. And we're serving the customer. The customer can only trust that relationship when there's transparency and there's clarity around what that relationship looks like with the partner.
Does the element of trust have purely financial aspects to it as well? I mean, we are talking to people who work for themselves, therefore operate in a micro environment. How they handle finances, is that of concern when it comes to trust?
Absolutely. And it's not just a concern for the industry at large, but I think it's a concern to the customers as well. So, and I suspect everybody through the value chain. And quite frankly, this is, even if you were to take away any form of structure, let's say there was no ASATA, let's say there was no regulation, let's say there was no large entity that was going to support you in that. When you start a business, you have to have business fundamentals that are correct and appropriate. And there is no excuse for not knowing what the law says. If the law says this is what's required of you as a business, then you have to comply to that.
Training then must be a significant consideration. And again, this is not something that our industry is well known. When you talk to the customers, is that I mean, that certainly comes as both as a desire that customer seems to want and a complaint when they don't get it.
Yes, they actually complained bitterly about that. Their whole, what they were saying was that I can go and contract online. I can go and buy an air ticket online myself, and I often know a lot more than the travel agent when I go and ask them for something. So I've actually sat in a travel agency before personally as a customer and heard someone come in and ask for Malta and the travel agent not know where Malta was. That is hugely damaging to a brand. You're inspiring no trust because you know less than your customer knows, but your customer's coming to you as the expert, which is a significant problem. But what I've also come across when speaking to consumers is that there may be a lack of knowledge and there may be a lack of training, but there's also very little interest and curiosity about learning more. So it's all very well that we have a knowledge problem, that the training opportunities are not there, but we also need to want to learn more, and we need to want to know more about destinations and about product that we're selling.
And if I may, the other argument that could be had is, what is the interpretation of true value? So if you as a customer have access to a huge amount of information around products, you've got TripAdvisor and multiple platforms that are peer shared experiences that people we know are trusting extensively. But what we're probably not doing very well is leveraging the information that we have about that customer. So the opportunity to use data, this concept of personalization. If I have a relationship with my customer and I understand them better, their likes, their dislikes, their preferences, and how do I use that smartly?
Big data is a buzzword, and it's being used and abused in many industries. But it is effectively that. It is being able to learn about your customer and retain that information. Now, yes, of course, you could argue that one could just have a really big notebook that you can keep and keep on writing everything you know about everybody you do. But effectively, that is not useful. So our people who we are talking to, ITCs who effectively operate as a one-person business, perhaps handicapped or excluded from this, or is it important to talk to our colleagues who are thinking about doing an ITC business, that when they consider their business, they have to include that in their strategy, and either seek out a partner who would be able to do that for them, or make sure that that's built into their thinking, that this is a requirement. Because I don't know of many examples where small agencies have client relationship management software, which is extremely expensive to have.
Yes, I completely agree with you. And that term big data is a frightening term, because just that word big already completely, you think, oh, I'm a one-man band. There's absolutely no way that I can do anything when it comes to big data. But essentially, again, the ITC has one foot in the door, because the ITC has those personal relationships and understands the why of travel. Why is somebody traveling? So I think it's a complete no-brainer, and it is completely essential that you are recording what your customers' preferences are. Even if you're not doing anything with it at the moment, just collecting that information is invaluable, because when you are ready to do something with it, at least you'll have a history of information that you can look at.
By and large, what you're collecting, you're a benefit of your customer.
Is it then fair to say that this is only meaningful if you have the ability to have your marketing strategy that is driven by the knowledge that you have accumulated about your customer? And therefore, if that is fair, then you have to generate your own marketing, as opposed to regurgitating what is out there available from anyone else.
Well, it is a lot more powerful, because instead of spamming a person, you're actually delivering a message that is very specific to that person's needs and preferences. Marketing, and any ponytail will tell you this, marketing revolves around what your customer wants. You've got to tick your customer's box, essentially. It's not about you. You're completely incidental. It's about what your customer wants. So if you, Mladen, you have absolutely no interest in hiking at all, let's say you don't. I don't know if you do or not. But if I keep sending you information about wonderful hiking spots in Mpumalanga, what are you going to do? You're going to delete it. But if I know that you have a young family, that you love going to the beach, that you enjoy traveling only in off-peak periods, and I know that about you, I am much more likely to deliver a message to you that's going to resonate and that you're going to act upon, than if I were to keep delivering you Mpumalanga hiking. So to the point when I actually do have something that you're interested in, you're not going to read it because I've been spamming you for the last 6 months.
Another element that is quite present in a lot of the suggestions, the nine recommendations that ASATA has presented, is the concept of concierge-style travel service. So can I ask you to speak a little more, to tell us a little more, what does that mean?
That means personalization, first and foremost, intimately understanding what your customer wants, what their needs are, and the why of travel. It is delivering an end-to-end experience, so not a reactive experience. Well, oh, you want to go to Malta, here, I'll book you a ticket. But helping to inspire them at the beginning of the travel journey, helping them to plan their travel journey, helping them to book their travel journey. When they start traveling, preempting any issues, any friction points that they have, and then the post. So it's helping them along that entire travel journey, from inspiration phase to post-travel phase.
And that assumes, obviously, that this new, we are already in 21st century, but this new travel agent's profile would have to satisfy 24/7 availability in some form. Would you say that's correct?
Yes, and I think this is possibly a good opportunity for us to talk about this concept of duty of care, because we talk about duty of care in a very corporate environment where we're looking at the safety and security of a traveller. But what we saw in the research was that this idea of duty of care extends way beyond that, and it's not just from a corporate perspective, from a leisure perspective. It is that the customer truly trusts that you really care about me. You care about me even after I've booked with you, not just before when you're trying to get my interest, but after I've booked with you, when I'm traveling, preempting any of those issues that I might have along the way, giving me those little tidbits that I know if I'm flying to Ghana, I know I have to be the first person off that aeroplane, because if I'm not the first person off that aeroplane, I'm going to wait 2 hours getting through immigration. It's that type of service that they're looking for, whether they're a corporate customer or whether they're a leisure customer.
Are you positive about the travel industry in South Africa, the outlook for travel industry in South Africa, particularly when we talk to people who are working from home already or people who are considering starting a career?
Well, you would have noted that on more than one occasion during our conversation today, I've used the word opportunity, because I believe that whenever there are fundamental shifts or changes, or there are environmental challenges as we face today in South Africa, and there are a multitude of them, whether it is the suppressed economy, whether it's the exchange rate, whether we're talking just generally about difficult environments for the travel sector. This is a mature industry, and we have two choices. We either allow for the decline to continue, or we use this as an opportunity to learn and to grow and to see the sector evolve in a manner where we can see nothing but good times ahead. And if we take some comfort and guidance with some of the input that we've provided through the 21st Century Study, through the 9 recommendations that we put forward, if we look to more mature and developed markets like the United States, where we're seeing a growth in the number of bookings that travel agencies are taking, where we're seeing people making career choices where they are moving out of other industry sectors and coming into the travel industry because they think it's exciting, because they think it has opportunity, and they think that they can really contribute and add value, then my take on it is that I think we have a wonderful opportunity ahead of us. I think we're in a very dynamic and exciting sector. And if people embrace the change, if they put the customer at the center of their business, they do true consulting, add true value, and operate in a transparent and a trustworthy manner, there is no doubt in my mind that there's huge opportunities to being a travel agent in the future.
It's going to be a difficult journey. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to require a lot of soul searching, I think, because it's very difficult to change something that we've been doing for a very long time. And as Otto said, we're a mature travel industry, but we're already seeing the change. We are already seeing travel consultants who go beyond 21st century, who 22nd century travel agents. I know these people and I know how successful they are. So when everyone else is complaining about how depressed the economy, these guys are looking for the disruptors and they're looking for the opportunities, and they're not afraid to take those risks, and those are the guys who are not only surviving, but they are succeeding. So I can see those guys already, and that's why I'm so optimistic, because I know that the millennial traveler is a traveler that values that personal experience. And if that's the traveler that we have in the future, it's a no-brainer. Become a 21st century travel agent.
Well, there you have it. These were the thoughts that have been presented at the recent ASATA conference. They represent the thinking of the leadership of the travel industry in South Africa. This is a good time to consider business. As Otto says, the opportunities are out there. And as long as there is an understanding of what is important for the 21st century travel agent, the concept of personalization, understanding that customers want to feel cared, the ability to ignore and not base your thinking on a very narrow ability to achieve overrides and neglect the customers in that process, and using the information that you have through your experience and grow your understanding and seek training to really master your craft, you will have all the ingredients required to be a successful travel agent, to have a successful business. So I thank you for your time with us. Thank you, Otto and Natalia. I am looking forward to some other conversations that we are going to show you in the second part of the ITC Summit. Until that time, thank you very much and goodbye.